What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Madden 19. You know, Rex Dixon, in my opinion, will forever be the pioneer of interacting with our community when it comes to Madden. Whether you liked him or you didn't like him, or you liked the game or you didn't like the game, he was always willing to at least listen to you for the most part. And that's something that really lacks going forward with Madden. We haven't had that interaction. Now, that doesn't mean that Rex hasn't left Madden, moved on. Obviously, I've got to text him a couple times. He seems very comfortable with his decision. I've asked him to come on my channel. He's politely refused, which is fine, but I'm glad that he's got to spend time with his family. I'm glad he's still in the gaming industry, but that does not mean that when he speaks, it will not still hold clout or weight in our community. It probably always will. So today he comes out with a tweet that says, "The question remains as to what could have been made if the resources applied to making the game an immersive cinematic experience had been applied to gameplay." Within this, there's an article that asks the question, is this what we wanted in a football game, in referencing Madden 19? My answer to that would be no, because Madden 19 refuses still to check all the boxes. We can still make those comparisons, just as I did yesterday, to 2K Sports, and at this point, Madden should be so far above and beyond that the jokes that you guys like to make when looking at the independent game should be the same jokes you make when looking at 2K, because Madden should have raised the bar to a level so far exceeded by 2K Sports, it shouldn't even be relevant, but it continues to be. And who's to blame for that? That's the interesting thing here. When I think about Rex saying an immersive cinematic experience, I personally think long shot, which we all know no one asked for. But before we get into that, he actually went on to say, it's not him, it's not Clint Oldenburg, it wasn't Colby, that Madden has went through 3 creative directors, 2 senior producers in 5 years, and that upper management is the only consistent. And to me, that says a lot. I think about the community, okay? All of us have different channels, all of us have different talking points, all of us have different directions, and that's the main thing you have to understand. Have a guy like Clint comes in the game, NFL experience, in my opinion, does the most with the line that we've ever seen. A guy like Colby comes in from the show. Obviously, he's trying to impart what a lot of us feel is the best franchise mode in all of sports into Madden. Have a guy like maybe Ian Cummings, soccer background, comes in, tries to bring that dynamic, brings in ProTac. You've got all these people that have different directions, different concepts, and different ideologies of what a football game should be. And whether we roll our eyes at 3 or 5 year plans, this shows you a lot of those people don't live out those 3-year plans, or 5-year plans even, for that matter. So in my opinion, that leaves us with a very unfinished, unrefined game. You know, when you look at Madden, there's people that devote channels to horrible Madden gameplay. And I don't mean myself doing breakdowns. I mean people who devote their channel to showing how awful gameplay can be 1 out of a million times. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but I don't know a lot of other games that actually have a following just based on how bad some of the plays end up being as a final result. And when Rex talks about long shot, I have to question who in the community wanted long shot. We talked about this before. A countless dollar investment, 3 years, God knows how many man hours. It came out last year. It wasn't very well received. I only played it for a short period of time before I realized the results were just as canned as the game. You weren't getting a unique experience, and ultimately everyone was playing the same character. To be fair, I haven't touched Longshot this year, and I really don't plan to because it doesn't do anything for me. I don't know anyone that went and said, I want a small movie that I get to play within my game of Madden. Credit to EA for trying something different, but it also hasn't been really successful because I don't see a lot of Longshot channels coming up, and you can't really create a Longshot channel because everyone's content is the same. All you're going to do is show people what they can see if they play their game. And no one wants to watch that. They would play it themselves as opposed to watch you play it for the most part. Yes, I know there's some walkthroughs, but I digress. I do know that Rex spearheaded telling the community they owed us a big year this year. In my opinion, yes, they made some adjustments to franchise, okay? They changed some user interface around, they changed how we built players, they changed how we structure our teams, but the core issues always remain, and that's the problem with Madden. You can continue to layer on all these things, but the gameplay is still broken, and that's what Rex talked about initially, and that's what's important to understand here. I mean, this is a guy that used to really be a part of this game, and probably every single day devoted his life for a number of years to making it better. And he's essentially telling us, hey, listen, if we had taken all that money from Longshot, all those developers, all that time, energy, money, and resources, and put it into the game, where would we be now? And in a sense, agreeing that the customers know the game is still not where it needs to be, and taking an extra step of telling us, hey, it wasn't my fault, it wasn't Colby's fault, we've both moved on, but Clint Oldenburg is still there, it's not his fault either. You have to look at management to a degree. And in my opinion, I agree with it to a point, but I also don't believe we should sit here and solely not talk about things because we know management is to blame. Because we still have to talk about these things, support each other as a community, and work towards getting a better game. Love to know what you guys think about this. Appreciate you checking it out. I am going to go draft a dominant fantasy football team, but I will be back in the week with more commentary.